Hi, Billy Merritt here, coming to you from Superior Nutrition Podcast, the essentials for life force, longevity, and the mind. As you know, this is my commitment, this is my passion, providing the most up to date, high impact information for your well being. And I am always about nutrition, exercise, sunshine, hydration, all the above. But today I'm super excited to zero in on some exercise protocols with my friend Ryan Patterson, who has this amazing training operation with really cutting edge new information that has actually just been huge for me. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ryan, and we're going to find out some great stuff today. Thank you so much for joining us, Ryan.
Fantastic. Good. Glad to be here. And yeah, it's cool to see our synergy over all these years. Absolutely.
Yes. So Ryan and I actually go way back. We worked as trainers back in the day. And so for the last decade, though, since I've seen Ryan, actually, I did see you a couple of years ago and you came through Asheville, which was awesome. You have been working on a very unique protocol that is actually, I have to say, I haven't experienced anything quite like it before. When I did your 25-minute workout routine this morning, it was like this hybrid blending of this full body exercise, yoga, strength training, and physical therapy. And it was something where what I really liked about it, I could tell it was like full body wellness. But I love how you talked about like throughout just like these little tasteful plugs of like joy and gratitude and things of that nature, which I've never heard before. So I basically just want to know um, how you conjured this up, what it is, like what the intention is. And truthfully, I'm committed after doing this 25-minute routine this morning. It was like, yeah, I need to be doing this every day. It wasn't easy and it wasn't too hard. This is stuff that, I mean, really anybody could do. So the mic is yours.
All right. Well, a lot to unpack here. Yeah. So I'll just start by saying, I'll just piggyback off the last part. And I try to make the hard stuff easy. So the easy stuff hard. So the hard stuff gets easy, right? Because it's, you say hybrid, and this does, the joy and the gratitude probably comes from the decades of yoga, right? And the reality of, we know the impacts of the positive thinking and how our perspective shifts our views and all of that wonderful stuff that isn't necessarily put into our workout programs, right? It's in the yoga, it's maybe in Pilates. I've not personally done a lot of Pilates, but the reality is that our mind is a massive component to our wellness, right? And so, which would segue into kind of, you mentioned my program, and I take that with a huge pat on the back, because I haven't really felt like I've developed a program, but what I've done is I've started to piece all of the stuff that I've done for all of these years into what I do, and now I'm just starting to share that. So it is a bit of yoga, it is a bit of strength training, it is a bit of endurance, athleticism, right? There's all this stuff, but my intention is for anybody to move better, and that's what it boils down to. Is we all do our thing, whether it's we work our asses off in the office or we run ultra marathons. We want to be able to do that from a happy place, a healthy place, and a pain-free place, right? And so it boils down to the fact that we just need to move every day, and that's where the program came from. So
Well, what I liked about it is, like I mentioned, just um, anybody could do it. I think the tough thing in this day and age is that, like, just getting fit has been just overemphasized in terms of like looking good and getting like ripped. And for how many people want to get strong versus how many people actually really work at it, I think is a very small percent because people are just intimidated. And
sure.
really, like, we need to have just like this new view, really, that the goal, rather than like looking good and just like trying to get ripped, like I mentioned, like the goal is like optimizing your health. And So really, just when we look at it in that perspective, it's a much more attractive goal, and that really, when I was doing your routine this morning, all it took was the floor, with a yoga mat.
Sure.
And so super minimal, but what I gathered is that it was about, yes, getting the body strong, but also just like getting things positioned right. You were talking about uh, hitting certain muscles, like targeting specific areas to get other places turned on.
Absolutely.
And something like posture is just in this day and age just more of a priority than ever. Just from the modern day and age of just like we work at desks where when we're just looking at our phone, our head is kind of forward. And so, I mean, really, this is something that we all need to be doing. And so, can you just kind of give a breakdown of like the science of it, like how you're specific? It's like this. It's this sequence where you're trying to, I mean, obviously, just all I've gathered from this is the little bit that you've told me. But it's just helpful to know like what exactly is going on here. Is it's like kind of a sequence. So there's my long-winded question.
Yeah, no problem. It gives me some time to think it through. No, so what's really going on here is we boil it all the way back to, um, in a kind of a loose term, back to infancy, right? And so what we want to do is what this program does, or my philosophy does, is we start with the intrinsic core, right? And I kind of coined it, and probably not original, but the subconscious core, right? It's diaphragm, it's pelvic floor, it's transverse abdominis, and the multifidus, the small muscles that go through the back, right? And so that's intrinsic core. And if that stuff doesn't fire efficiently or first, a millimeter a second before you move, the extrinsic core has to come in and pick up the slack. So, and if one muscle is doing another muscle's job, it can't do its own job or that job, either one, especially well. Right. And so what we want to do is we want to clear this up. And so that could segue into really what the underlying tone of this stuff is the brain connection, the neural pathways to the brain and the muscle, and getting stuff to fire in sequence efficiently. And then it's effective. And then we start to add strength and mobility without much effort. Right. And so, but if we're using, and I think I made this analogy before, if we use the paint guy to fix the plumbing, right, it's probably not going to go very well. So if we're using our neck to breathe, it's not going to go very well, right? And so we want to back that all the way up, start over. Okay, when we were born, we spent the first 4 months developing intra-abdominal pressure to stabilize our system just to roll over. Okay, so we go back and start there. So that's that supine 90-90 that probably was in the first step of the program. It's almost in all of them, right? Once we get far enough into some of this stuff, I take it, I put it in later, or I start on prone or something. It's crucial. It's crucial, especially in the intro programs and when we're starting to move, to get that intra-abdominal pressure consciously, so that when it's not conscious, it's more effective and more efficient anyway. So that is the very first step of all of it, and then it just builds from there, right? And then, like you said, we're hunched forward, we're over our devices, we're over the steering wheel, we're over our kids, we're just leaning forward, we're tired, right? And so much of this now is T-spine, thoracic spine, the vertebrae that the ribs come off of, getting that remobilized and activated so we can hold ourselves upright. And then we stack our head on top of our shoulders. And now the joints are stacked and the pressure comes off. And all of a sudden we have fresh mobility. So, we can let that one go there. The reason that you get that this is sore is because, or you get sore, is because we're at end range. We isolate muscles, we isolate movements that we haven't gotten to before because we compensate. So I try to take the compensation patterns out, right? Take your neck out of the equation for your crunches and let your abs, let your core do its work. Let it fire and activate efficiently without the jaw clenching or the fist clenching, right? And so in a long-winded answer to your long-winded question, we're clearing neural pathways so that the brain-body connection is more efficient.
Clearing neural pathways. Wow. Okay. Well, you can, that's my jam. Like
That's
brain
probably
health.
back to you, right?
Well, so this is actually really where my ears perk up here. So it's like we're strengthening certain muscles so that other muscles don't kind of step in and overcompensate and pull things
Sure.
out
What
of.
we call it is you get a dysfunctional relationship in tissue, right? And that is one overactivating, overworking, which in turn inhibits another one. And so we have antagonist concepts in the body, right? They one flexes and one extends, and they work in reciprocal inhibition, right? One turns on, the other one has to let go in order to give that length to activate. Well, if this one's constantly turned on and activated, it's inhibiting something else. That's going on in the brain. It's not going on in the muscle. Your bicep's not just staying flexed from the sake of the bicep. The brain's keeping the bicep flexed for some level of protection, maybe the elbow joint. All right. And this is super random, but so we get dysfunctional relationships when one muscle is overworking, which in turn inhibits another one. So now we go in and figure out why, and we clear that pathway, right? And so I say clearing the neural pathway, that's probably a misnomer. We're strengthening or recreating neural pathways in the efficient manner, right? The neural pathway is there. And then I would put this one over to you as far as the deep science of the neurology of it. But what we're getting is the more that we make that connection, the stronger that pathway gets, and the more often it will go to that, right? And so to say that another way is if I'm using my trap, if I'm hiking my shoulder to do a bicep curl, right? I'm limiting the capacity of the shoulder. So now I activate the lat, that keeps the shoulder down, and now I can get into a cleaner, efficient motion of the arm, if that makes more sense.
Right. So when I was doing your routine this morning, a few things like just like the tried and true classic down dog and plank and squat and all things of that nature. But there were a few things that I just hadn't really tried before, like leaning up against the wall and lifting your toes. And like I truthfully, I kind of felt like these areas in my body work that I've just never really like had a sensation for before. And so the idea is like I really love how this is it's like a more defined science that you're getting things strong, yes, but like the right sequence of things and by it was kind of like this almost at first like this strange unfamiliar feeling, but then it was like I was feeling like, oh man, I need to be doing this more.
Yeah.
And I really like how like moving in these different sort of areas, like it's generally like the brain telling the body what to do, but I like the idea of like working the body to sort of just train the brain to then move the body differently. It's kind of just like
That's a great way. Well, and I don't know if this is scientific. You can correct me, but I believe that the imagination or the thought process builds a neural pathway one way, and the activity, the physicality builds it the other way. And so it's probably plays into part of the positive thinking and the manifestation. And so if we believe it and we dream it, we're sending the neurons one way, and then we're actually doing it. And then at one point those connect. And that aha moment, that brain holds on to. It's just like, oh wow, of course I'm going to do this. It's based on efficiency, right? The reason that we have tight muscles is to protect us. It's a perfect system. It's the fact that it's just maybe too perfect, right? Because it's keeping us. I don't want to say inhibited again, but it's keeping us contracted. But it's out of safety. It's out of concern. The brain's concerned for our well-being.
well, it's almost kind of like trying to use your left hand more, or assuming you're right-handed. That it's like it's kind of just this unfamiliar sensation. Obviously, if you were to try to write with your left hand. But the cool thing is, like, there are actual, I mean, like, Jim Quick, he's an authority in the field of just neurobiology, and he talks about doing these sort of unfamiliar feelings with your body that is actually like brain training. And I've been having to do a little bit of that because I broke my thumb a couple months ago. Thankfully, not thankfully, but I'm just glad I didn't break my right thumb. But it has been making everything take about 4 times as long.
Well, if you stick around long enough in these programs, I start to do stuff with our toes, right? Like you lift all your toes and just put the big toe down, and lift all the toes and just put the other toes down. And you'll watch the fingers want to help out, whatever you're moving in your fingers. So it is, but it's clearing that pathway. And, we say your left thumb, but you realize when people actually lose their hands, for example, or their feet, how much dexterity they create with their feet. So it's available. It's just a matter of what we choose to use it with, right? Or not in this case, right? We stuff our feet in these silly shoes and we go to work for most of the day, and we lose the ability of our feet to function. And that's actually, I'll go on a whole nother, we'll do another segment on that, but my feet and gait and all of that is where some way back in my career was the most important thing. And now it's kind of this, I don't even want to call it brain training, but this kind of body brain connection, and to get stuff online and more efficient. So, but it's huge. Feet are huge. So anyway, sorry for the segue there.
No, that is cool. So, but big picture goals here is, I mean, we've talked about posture and just kind of holding your body right, like shoulders back, head back. But I would imagine, I mean, maybe this is super obvious, but this is for like aches and pains.
Well, again, once your body's in alignment, you're going to have less pain, right? When we stack joints, it takes pressure off of muscles. If we're out of alignment, that muscles has to pull us back into place. So if, for example, if my head's way forward, all these guys are constantly on stress to keep my head from falling off my shoulders. So, and that just goes clear through the whole body, right? If you're in plank, you can go into a plank and your joints are stacked and you can stay there given your strength of your core, but it's not a shoulder issue anymore. You put your hand out a little bit forward, all of a sudden now it's a muscular thing and it's a different operation. So yeah, the cleaner we can get our posture, the more we can get our joints lined, stacked on top of joints and working efficiently, this tissue softens all around it. The neurology softens, right? The brain, the feedback to the brain eliminates the stress symbols or the pain signals, and all of a sudden takes that pressure off. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not compromised, it's not going to contract. Right? So that's the kind of the goal now in my world is, how do we strengthen everything? We start strengthening everything in proper alignment, and all of a sudden the tension falls off. Right? We're moving, where our mobility increases, where our strength increases. Who cares about what the bicep looked like? I can probably do more pull-ups than the big bulk guy in the gym. Right? Because I have my brain, it's a cleaner movement. I'm not relying on two great big muscle groups to do the job. I've got this entire subsystem and fascia sling and everything that knows, oh, this fires and then this fires and then this fires, right? And it's just this nice, efficient sequence that happens, right? It's almost, and what else do you pick it up in my programs too, or some of the workshops, is soften where you're not working. Like, why is your jaw helping you do a leg lift, right? Like, get that out of there. Get more efficient, get more efficient, get more efficient. Yeah.
Right. So for people who just like want to drop and do this, like I was able to find, you do your newsletter. So for anybody listening, I'm going to definitely make sure I share that link so you can get subscribed to these newsletters, because I mean, this was just so easy, like that you were. I mean, truthfully, it was just to like drop what I was doing and do this. I mean, it took me 25 minutes in my living room. But you're in Paraguay, aren't you? Is that where you are?
Right now, yeah. Only
Yeah.
a little shiny on the face. It's humid and beautiful, warm here. So, but yeah, in Paraguay, and It doesn't matter where you are. This is 25 minutes, man. We've got to. That's the tagline. We need to find 25 minutes for our damn selves, no matter where you are, who you are, or anything else. Every single day. That's for sure.
It is such a reality check because, I mean, the reality is, just we're busier than ever. We just have more to think about than than ever before, and so people do just the common theme is that people don't have enough time. But one thing I've always loved to emphasize is that taking care of your health gives you time rather than takes it. I mean, if you integrate this sort of stuff into your lifestyle, the bottom line is your success in improving your well-being is in fact guaranteed. And that, I mean, I think that it just makes you more efficient, that absolutely a stronger body supports a stronger mind. Like when I'm doing my exercise routines daily, my mind is definitely firing sharper, faster, and I think that everything goes better in terms of like my work. I'm in a better mood. I think I have absolutely affects my emotional health, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely want this to click with
Well, that's
listeners.
and well, shameless plug, but that's literally what started this was the 21 day program. And I just thought, I was doing it for my clients because I have, I train them once, twice, 3 times a week, but in the interim, they're not doing anything else. And you can't get them to do homework. So if any clients are listening, I apologize. But so I was like, okay, 20 minutes a day for 21 days. That's it. All we have to do is get into our repertoire, our daily routine to do 20 minutes, right? Like, and it's like flossing our teeth. It doesn't, if you forget one night or one day, it's fine. But the idea is it's as important or probably more important than flossing your teeth. So every single day should be without question, whether it's get on your mat, get in child's pose, connect to your breath for 5 minutes, do a little stretch, do a little this, do a little that, and then go. But it should be every single day, right? And it's true personal experience, right? Like it was for me. Like I would get out of my flow, I'd get all achy, and then I'd be like, start moving again, be like, why the hell did I not? Why did I quit moving? Right. And so anyway, it's the consistency is the hardest part to get started, but the most important and the most valuable. Now I have people in the program there, they're just like, oh man, I missed it when the days are off, right? Because it's a 21 day program every month. So there's a week off and they're like, no, wait, well, what else can I do? So anyway, that's been switched up a little bit, but that's how it all started, was 21 days. So we can move for 20 minutes every single day. That's the bottom line. That's all you need to do.
Okay, so you said a 21-day program. So I would imagine that there's some like sequence to it, and it's not just like your the online class I did today was 25 minutes, but like you having this 21-day program. So tell me about that. Is there kind of like a whole journey to the thing?
There,
And
there is, yeah. I mean, and it's again, it's starting out. It's called an intro to movement, and so it's kind of getting the fundamentals hammered down, right? So that supine 90-90, that intra-abdominal pressure, the breathing behind the shield, so that we can keep a firmness in our core and then mobilize from there. And then it's about getting into hip joints and shoulder complex. So how do we warm up the shoulders? And so there's a bit of an arc, but it's basically those three kind of pillars, if you will, to really get the core and intra-abdominal pressure, shoulder complex, hip complex, and then of course I always do feet stuff. So it's but it progresses, right? So it starts off with a fairly consistent, steady, slow breathing, getting that connection, core starting to work properly, and then we come up to standing into legs and shoulders, and then by the end we're maybe adding some load to it, getting some bands, but it's a fairly simple, right? Not easy, like you said, it's simple, but it's not easy, and so that's again my goal is to make the easy stuff hard, right? Because the hard stuff then becomes easy. So
okay,
yeah, it's a super nice progressive, a full body, similar. And I think what you did was the Wednesday workout, right? I just kind of throw out this free workout every Wednesday.
Gotcha.
Hump
Gotcha.
day, kind of quickie, kind of was the original concept. Get us through the week, kind of thing. And so it's a little more all inclusive, a little faster, just for the general population, because my audience has a little bit of A-type lean, if you will. And so, for just to throw it out there to everybody, it's not as I don't want to say coordinated, not as disciplined, right? It's more of just kind of let's move and hop around a little bit for 25 minutes. But like you said, it's still, I err on that anal side of correctness, right? Because the saying that practice makes permanent, and that's just not true, right? Perfect practice makes permanent, right? Or perfect practice makes perfect. Practice makes permanent.
Right? Okay. So I like that. I mean, truthfully, that you have a 21-day course is, I didn't know that. So this is something that I definitely want to check out. And this is something that people find on your website, or how do they get signed up for something like this?
Absolutely. Yeah, the website, it all walks through pretty clearly. Yeah, and that would be a great way to get more kind of in depth into the neurokinetic therapy, which is where the neurology side of this stuff started. A guy, David Weinstock, created this kind of brain clearing, right? It's more about brain work than body work, and the brain is what causes the dysfunction in the tissue, right? So the tissue, like I said, the bicep doesn't just decide to get tight, right? The brain decides it's going to tighten the bicep for some reason, right? And so that's what we go in and start figuring out what it's overworking or not working enough, and how we start to clear that out. And so I've just kind of generalized this into what we would do kind of in a foundational starting point for people, and then we just progress it. So I've just generalized it and put it into a package, but there really is a significant science and huge success in personal one-on-one in KT sessions, right there.
Uh,
It's really, yeah. So David Weinstock, if anybody's curious, or NKT, neurokinetic therapy, is where a lot of that stuff that I'm kind of talking about in general stems from. It's one of the latest kinds of trainings that I've been doing for probably the past 5 years or something.
okay. I have a couple more questions, but before I forget, where is your website? What's your web address?
Yeah, rpbodyworks.com. So Ryan Patterson, rpbodyworks plural.com.
Okay, cool. So, and you do a 21-day course like this, and is it something like after just the first 21 days that you would actually feel some kind of difference?
Oh, you feel something different after the first week.
Okay.
Because like you felt in one day, we're isolating, right? And so that's the difference. We're taking away your compensation pattern. So even if we're just doing basic stuff that we do every other day, we're doing it without compensation. So we're doing it without your crutch, if you will. And so whatever that may be, my goal is to take that away, isolate it, and then we're also going to full end of range and challenging the end range of muscles, right? And so that's somewhere else that we don't go, right? Like, when's the last time that you've lifted your knee super high and held it there to get into that end range of hip flexion, right? And so until you go there controlled, one of my little key things, I want you to own every millimeter of movement. We take momentum out of it, right? There's no throwing your body parts around. Hell no. You're going to own it all the way from the beginning to the end, and all the way back in a controlled environment. And that's where it starts to really encourage or require the entire muscle to work. And that's what changes from a general day or general workout, or if you work out with somebody that doesn't have the eye for that, or let you get away with just numbers. Oh, do 12. Okay. I don't give a shit if you do 6 or 20, they're going to be perfect. They're going to be clean. They're going to be owned. You're going to control it. And that's going to be much more valuable than it is to if you did a whole bunch badly. Right. So you'll feel it the first week. It depends. The intro program is, like I said, it's intro. So if you have a movement practice, it may not be for you. You can get it. I've got an intermediate program that's actually 20 days, 5 days a week for 4 weeks. So kind of a 4 week program that's a little stronger, more up in the shoulders. The intro class stays off the wrist quite a bit. I know a lot of people have wrist stuff and shoulder stuff. So without having some personal assessment, I'm a little cautious in throwing that in. So the intro program is pretty straightforward and mostly hips, shoulder warm up stuff, but not a lot of load on the shoulders. And then the intermediate program kind of picks up from there and takes off.
Okay, I'm actually really glad to know that, just since I'm not using my left hand at the moment. So, because I have a very dialed workout routine that's super comprehensive. That just gets everything strong that I do every day at home,
Yeah,
and now I can't do any of it.
you're right.
So
Your wrist,
it all uses my left hand: push-ups, pull-ups, and squats, holding a weight to my chest, and then so it's like, forget it, that's it.
yeah.
And so I was able to do most of your stuff today, which is good, and I'm really glad to know that like it's orchestrated so that people with certain aches and pains can still do. It sounds like they can still do the majority of what you have to share. So I mean, I'm super pumped. Count me in on that.
I'll leave it with this, but the fact that we should pain that you is where I want to go with this, because so many of us avoid pain, and that's counterintuitive, but it's completely wrong, right? Without massive injury, acute injury, you should not be avoiding the pain. Now we go up into it softly and with discipline, but man, the only way to get through your pain is to strengthen around it. So
Strengthen
um,
around it. Strengthen everything else except for the injury.
an example for myself, right? Like I was, I had a, this is a couple year ago or 2 years ago, I had a shoulder kind of ache for a year, right? I just kept training it around it and kept doing it. Not specifically, if I could overtrain it, it would be sore. Well, one day it's feeling great, and it just kind of aha, and I'm sitting doing overhead press, and I'm just like, wow, the weight's fine. It's just floating up, like everything's working properly. Well, I woke up the next morning with a sharp pain in my low back, which is my lifetime issue, right? So because I was sitting, I compressed into my back, and it was like that, just that hot. Oh no, what have I done? I went straight out to my gym and went straight to my low back. I trained my glutes, I trained my adductors, right? I went straight to that pain and it was gone, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? When we have knee pain, if you avoid it, it's only going to get worse. We need to find a way to train into it to get that knee strong, and I guarantee it'll go away. Right? There's a way out of it, even if it's arthritis and joint on joint, all the stuff that the doctors talk about. If we strengthen that soft tissue around it, it's going to feel way better than if you don't. And the only way to do it is go toward it. So
There we go. There we go.
just on pain. Sorry.
Okay. Well, so for if you're listening to this, I really encourage you to give this a go. Knowing Ryan from back in the day, he was already a genius, and this just sounds so well formulated. So, rpbodyworks.com. And hey, Ryan, thank you so much for sharing everything you've got, man. Much appreciated.
But I appreciate it. It's nice to tease out some of this stuff. I feel like I repeat it to clients all the time, but I don't ever get this kind of open forum to kind of think through it out loud. So I appreciate it, man. Great to chat.
All right. Okay, you guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been a real joy to get to learn so much from Ryan and just what he's into. So definitely check this out. I'm down. I'm going to commit. And so definitely come on over to infinitygreens.com. What I want to offer you, as you know, so much of like the aches and pains is exercising the right things, like we've been talking about. And of course, it's the right diet, the anti-inflammatory diet, the diet that gets things strong. And so a lot of the Infinity superfoods, that's what they're all about. But this weekend, we are going to feature the Infinity turmeric. The Infinity turmeric, it's a blend of the turmeric extract and pepper extract, which is the tried and true in Ayurveda for being the number one anti-inflammatory in the world of natural foods. So Really, it's for anybody with aches and pains. And truthfully, like we need to be on the anti-inflammatory lifestyle. It's good for everything. So you can learn more about Infinity Turmeric at infinitygreens.com, the founder and creator of the Infinity Superfoods. And so we will check in next week. Always have some more great things to share. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, click subscribe and tell your friends about the Infinity Superior Nutrition podcast. All right. You guys take care. Bye now.